Good morning to all those with a starlight fascination, a curious morbid fascination of sailing. I don't know where it comes from or how to get rid of it. I'm trying to work it out of our system. We have just left Palau Besar behind me. Pulled the anchor up at first light this morning. Hopefully there's enough light for you to see. I think there is. And we are heading south now towards Palau Pisang, which is our overnight stop tonight. If all goes well, it's 70 nautical miles from here, so a bit of a hike. Really should have got going probably another hour earlier, but for those watching the previous episode would have seen that I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. So I stayed in bed for probably an hour longer than I probably should have, but anyway, it just means we have to pay for it at the other end by anchoring in the dark. Anyway, trade-offs, that's what it's all about. So I reckon we'll be motoring most of today because to cover that 70 miles in a reasonable time frame, we're going to have to maintain 5.5 to 6 knots, and I reckon we'll struggle to get 5.5 against this tide once it turns against us. So, and I don't think we'll get any real wind for sailing either. We might just get a little breeze that might help with, you know, quarter of a knot, but that's about it. We've got the main up, and we'll set the headsail later on in the day if we need to. There's got a fisherman about to cross my bow there. Just stay out of the way. Not sure if you'll be able to make it out on this GoPro because of the wide angle, but this vessel here, we've just gone around because he's flying a flag for a net, and we saw a flag for a net some way in the distance. As we got closer, we realised that it's a drift net, it's a surface net. So they're not easy to see. This guy here, you can just see the dark floating or floats that demark the top of the floating net. This is probably one of the most destructive forms of fishing there is, not to mention for shipping. If you passed that at night, you would have no clue. You'd just run straight over it. Just when you think you're getting a handle on these fishing boats, how they lay, you move from one region to another and they just keep changing. So 3 or 4 times during the day they use different styles and methods depending on their local custom. Now the first boat we passed had his nets all out one side. The second boat we passed had all his nets out one side. The third boat we looked and we saw his flag, we could see his nets out one side. And now we've just realised he's got nets going out both directions. He's actually sitting in the middle. And we watched one of the boats pulling their nets in, and he must have pulled in easily 100 metres of drift net, not a single fish in it, nothing, just empty. So these guys, their answer to the lack of fish is to put out more nets and get more boats. I don't know what Malaysia's going to do in the next 10 years, because it's already, the fisheries have collapsed here. 10 years time, you'd be lucky to catch a rock. It's really disappointing. Well, this is what today looks like. We're about halfway from Palau Besar to Palau Pisang. We're getting about 6 to 7 knots of wind off the starboard side. It's just enough to get the main full, since we're at about 30 degrees, but I wouldn't get the headsail set as well. So we're motor sailing, we're getting a little bit of help. Considering the tide's against us, we're making about 5.5 to 5.6 knots, something like that over the ground. Quite acceptable, and will get us there by sunset. This is what it looks like. Just boring, to be honest. I mean, I know it's better than sitting in an office, but I'd rather be sailing. And you know what, if we didn't have such a long way to go, you know, it's still 35 miles, and to get there before sunset, before we get caught up in all the fishing nets, if we didn't have such a long distance to go, then I would be sailing this. You know, we'd make 4 knots, probably 3.5, 4 knots, as long as we could get where we needed to go. Anyway, we're going to be stuck with this, but hey, you know, the best thing about having a tie light, well, the second best thing about having a tie light is barbecue. No one does barbecue like the Thais do barbecue, and we're cheating a bit. She's going to do it in a pan, but we've got some pork, honey pork barbecue something going on. And seeing as the sea's calm, we've already got some rice, and we'll have that. Yummy. Catch you later. Well, you wouldn't read about it, but our little friend is back. This little robin, I guess it's a robin. She was sitting on the rail a couple of days ago, keeping out of the wind, and we figured she must have just hitched a ride. Or late yesterday, I saw her again out of the corner of my eye, and then just now she's flown in under the bimini, under the Dodger, inside the cabin, and then come flying back out again. She's now sitting at the companionway. Now she's decided she wants to sit next to Tan. She's just not afraid, this little girl. Well, it's been a long day today. We're still about 2 hours out of Palau Pisang. It's 5:30, so we'll be anchoring probably right around dusk, which is okay because we can still see, you know, fishing nets and boats and stuff like that. You can actually see the island in the distance up there now. It's a bit hazy, so you won't see it. We are motoring pretty much directly into the wind now and against the tide to try and get there before dark. The tide's running, I reckon, at least a knot against us, and the wind is blowing at about 15 knots, so we're really pushing it uphill at the moment to get there. But we are making about 4.7 over the ground. We've got about 9 miles to go, or 8 miles to go, so a couple of hours we should get there. But we do have thunderstorms bearing down on us again, coming down off the Malay Peninsula there. We can hear the thunder, so I just had a bit of a look at the radar. I can see that it's going to be quite extensive. And again, I'm not sure which side of the island to anchor on because I don't know which side's going to be affected. At the moment, the wind and the swell are coming out of the south, so I'm going to choose the north side of the island. But it could just as well be exposed to a thunderstorm as the southern side. I just don't know. We're going to go anchor on that northern coast there. There's a little bit of a west-southwest bit of wind and chop coming in, but I think if we tuck in close, we should be able to avoid that. We've just dropped the pick at Palau Pisang. Pretty little spot. I guess we caught it on the right day. Lots of jungle, no development, no people. And we're sharing it with an Indonesian fishing vessel by the look of it. Just anchored there in front of us. Only just got the pick down. But this will do. This will do. Good morning, Starlight Gazers. We are on our way south again towards Puteri Harbour. We have just left Palau Pisang. We left about 6:30 this morning. We did sail for about 5 minutes, maybe a bit longer, maybe 10 minutes. But once we started running downwind, the wind was light. It's only about 5-6 knots. It just wasn't enough. So we're about to start the engine, but we do have the tide in our favour this morning. It's pumping us along at probably a comfortable knot and a half, I would say, giving us. And we've got that with us for probably the next 2 hours, which is enough, hopefully, to get to the entrance to the passage between Singapore and Johor. Fingers crossed. Anyway, we're just going to make miles today. We've got about 40 miles to go, maybe 35 to go to Puteri Harbour. Hope to get there early afternoon so we can check in with Immigration, Customs and Harbour Master. You need to do that in Malaysia for domestic movement, which is just annoying. Once we checked in, we've then got a day to really get our shit together, get organised, do shopping, get fuel. I've got some spare parts, got a massive list of things to do. The following day we're going to do our checkout, probably in the afternoon, and then on the next day leave and go across and clear into Indonesia at Nirup in the Singapore Strait. It's a new marina. Apparently you can clear in there. It should be easier than, or more accessible than Nongsa Point, and certainly not more expensive. So not only is it getting hotter as we're getting closer to the equator, we're at 1 degree 18 minutes north at the moment. So what's that, 78 nautical miles north of the equator. It's also getting pretty busy as we get closer to Johor and Singapore, which is a major shipping area. And so we're just sort of going to be threading our way through the anchored shipping at the entrance to Johor here at the southern end of the Malay Peninsula. And there you go. They're everywhere pretty much. Some of these are just rust buckets, I tell you what. We're in the narrow strait now between Malaysia and Singapore. It's a very hazy day. It's been hazy here the last week at least. We couldn't see Singapore from 4 or 5 miles away. Now we can just make out their coastline, probably 2.5 to 3 miles away. Anyway, behind me you can see all the anchored ships that we've been negotiating our way through. It hasn't been that hard, and there's been very little ship movement. I think we gave way to one ship, that's it. We just gave him room as he was going to go through the channel. But yeah, there you go. So we're headed up the channel there in that direction. It gets quite narrow eventually. Singapore on the starboard side, Malaysia on the port side, and we have to stay on the Malaysian side of the river. And as we'll see as we get further up, the Singaporean water police will make sure that we stay on the Malaysian side. Well, at least that was our experience last time we were here. So very light air here, not much going on, just navigating our way through all this stuff, but it's mostly anchored, so. We're about to start our entrance into Puteri Harbour. I'll give you a slightly different view this time as we do it. We'll be backing in and tying up port side too. Here we go. So we've arrived at Puteri Harbour with Burst. We've got the aircon running. Oh, sweet. And next trick is to take all our clearing documents up to the Marina office. We need to check in with the Marina. We also need to clear in Customs, Immigration, Harbour Master domestically here in Malaysia. So we'll get all that done. And then late this afternoon we're going to go hit the supermarket.
Yeah.
Well, because I need some chocolate.
No! Khanom, my khanom.
So here we are at Puteri Harbour in the southern part of the Malay Peninsula. We're stepping off to Indonesia in 2 days. Tomorrow is our checkout day, and then the day after that we're actually going to depart. We've got a few things to do. But there's a little festival going on here on the shore of Puteri Harbour, so we're going to go check it out. Come and see what we've got to eat. We're thinking maybe barbecue.
Yeah. Here we're going to get a pizza, a couple of Cokes, and we bought some barbecue that we're going to take back to the boat for when we're underway.